Hello and welcome to the UKRI Closing the Gap Network Research Sofa. I'm Simon Gilbody, Director of the network, and it's my absolute pleasure this afternoon to speak to Sophie Faulkner from across the Pennines in Manchester. One of the things we're particularly excited about within the Closing the Gap Network is our ability to fund new projects that share the same aims as those of the network, seeking to reduce health inequalities for people with severe and enduring mental ill health. And Sophie's one of the projects we've been able to support through the Network Plus projects. And I'm going to speak to Sophie about her work and herself this afternoon. So, Sophie, great to see you this afternoon.
Hi.
Hi. Now, do you want to begin by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came to work in mental health services and mental health research?
Yeah, so how I got originally into mental health was I had graduated from a rather impractical first degree, which was actually philosophy. I found myself working in not that ethical, I think, a business in market research. But then I started looking for somewhere that I could do work that would make the world better on average. And I found occupational therapy. So I went and trained to become an occupational therapist. And then from there, I got interested in sleep. And it was actually being interested in sleep that got me into research, because I was looking for research about sleep and occupational therapy and what we could do to help people with their sleep. Lots of people on the mental health ward I was working on had terrible sleep, and found so little that I thought, well, I should go and do some research on this. And that's how I started moving from being a health professional into actually doing research.
That's so interesting, Sophie. Some of my best friends did first degrees in philosophy and ended up in the strangest of places. So it comes as no surprise to find you here in mental health research. So we're really lucky to have you. And one of your research interests is around sleep problems amongst people who use mental health services. So I wonder if you could tell us, why sleep problems are important and why the particular topic of your research, obstructive sleep apnea, is so important for people with severe mental ill health.
Yeah, well, sleep problems are a massive issue, no matter what your kind of main diagnosis is. If you have really poor sleep, it impacts on all areas of your life and your functioning and your daily routine. And then beyond that, it's got loads of long-term health implications for mental health and physical health. And that's all been really well established in research, that the link between sleep and poorer health. But there's not been as much as there should be about how to improve sleep for people with mental health problems. And there's lots of different work going on to improve, to figure out how to improve insomnia and circadian rhythm problems in mental health conditions. But when I looked, I noticed there wasn't a lot about sleep apnea in people with serious mental illness. And it's actually, we do know enough to know it's really common in this group. And we do know enough to know that it's bad for you to have untreated sleep apnea. But there's not been much done about how to improve kind of uptake of assessment and uptake of treatment in this group. And there's a hint that we're not detecting it as much as we should be, essentially. And there isn't a treatment available, so we should be detecting it so people can have that treatment, basically.
So it's a really important problem and unmet need, and it's under research. So like you, we recognise the importance of this topic and the need to commission some research to really kickstart things. So I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about the research that you plan to do using the Closing the Gap Network Plus funds.
We're going to start by completing qualitative interviews with different stakeholders, as in people who have sleep apnea, people who've been screened for sleep apnea and didn't have sleep apnea, and also various different health professionals in different roles who might be screening or treating, to find out about what the barriers might be to people with serious mental illnesses getting assessed and diagnosed and then treated. Because there's been hints, people have suggested things that might be an issue, like daytime sleepiness might be mistaken for the effect of sedative medications when actually it's from sleep apnea. There's lots of things have been suggested, but we've not looked into it in any kind of structured way. So we'll be doing that. We'll also be mapping different pathways that people can actually get into services, because it seems to vary across the country, and then linking that with what people's individual journeys into services.
Excellent. So, I mean, that's so exciting, and we're really looking forward to working with you on your journey and as your research progresses over the next few years. And I just want you to maybe look ahead a little bit and maybe look in the crystal ball and imagine that things go well and the research delivers some important findings, as I anticipate it will do. So what do you see as being the potential longer-term impact of the work that you've begun to start here?
So obviously it's very early stage research. We're exploring a problem that there's not been much done on. But I think after this study, we may be in a position to say what the potential issues are and what might be useful approaches to consider changes in practice. And therefore we might know what would be worth trying and testing. And after then a bigger study, we might be able to say, oh, this should be changed about how we screen or about how we assess. But this will give us like some plausible options that we could be testing, I think. And also just actually starting a bit more of a conversation in mental health services and in sleep services about detecting sleep apnea in this group. So it could be that we manage to get some increase in awareness just through this project. Actually, that would be a really exciting outcome from my point of view, if there's something immediate coming from it, as well as this sort of stuff that's further down the pipeline.
Excellent. And just thinking about your work and the exciting work you've told us about, so how have people who use services been at the centre of what you're doing, helping you form your ideas and the work that you'll do over the next couple of years?
Yeah, the project began from an idea that I had, that this needed to be looked into when I was working as a clinician in a mental health team, and I had someone who, me and my patient both thought maybe they had sleep apnea, and it was a real struggle to get them referred, and we couldn't figure out why at the time. So it kind of began from there. But once I started thinking about, should this be a research idea, then actually patient involvement contributors were really keen and forthcoming to get involved and give their perspectives. So we've got a team of 5 people who are planning to be ongoingly involved in the project and kind of comment on our plans as we go on and look at some anonymized data, give their perspective on it. So it's not just the researchers that will be saying what they think about what people have said. Like that's the overall plan. Yeah, they said some instrumental things that made us change that application as we were putting it together. It was really useful.
No, that's really good to hear. Okay, so listen, I've really enjoyed talking to you this afternoon. Is there any final things that you want to say before we say goodbye?
I think just to any health professionals that aren't researchers, if you see something that you think we need to know the answer to this, don't hesitate to either try and go in and research it yourself someday, or talk to some researchers and see if they're going to research it, because there should be this connection between what's happening in practice and what then people are researching. And the only way that will happen is if researchers are going to talk to clinicians and clinicians are going to talk to researchers. And of course, everyone is talking to patients.
And that's so important to hear. And, many of us have got clinical backgrounds and we've been inspired by, the problems that we've seen within services and, the conversations that we've had with people who use services, and being able to speak and work within academic partners is so important. So it's really exciting to hear about your work and your journey from clinical practice into research. And I wish you well with your projects, and we look forward to working with you in the Closing the Gap network.
Thank you ever so much.